Good morning and welcome to News First Prime Time Sunrise.
Today is the 16th of June 2015. A very good morning to you. You're with Prime Time Sunrise on News First. I'm Chaturanga Hapuarachi. Before we go into the stories, let's take a look at the headlines. Those arriving from South Korea to be subjected to a special medical examination to detect MERS virus at the BIA from today. Chairman of the COPE committee says that investigations on the no confidence motion against the governor of the central bank will conclude next week. A special 3-day dengue prevention program in the Colombo city to be launched today. Wanted Sudan leader Bashir avoids South Africa arrest. On to those stories in detail. Chairman of the COPE committee, MP Gunasekara, says that the committee hopes to conclude the investigations launched in connection to the no confidence motion filed against the governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. He added that the subcommittee appointed by the COPE committee is currently gathering evidence.
The chairman of the COPE committee requests for an extension of the time period of 2 weeks that was allotted initially for the conclusion of the investigation. He stated that the Speaker had agreed for the extension. The Speaker informed the COPE committee to launch an investigation into the no-confidence motion against the Governor of the Central Bank before the matter was taken up for debate in Parliament. Therefore, a subcommittee was appointed by the Chairman, MP Gunasekara. The Chairman added that this is the first instance that the committee is conducting an investigation of this nature.
The Ceylon Shipping Corporation says that 97% of the share that should be received by the corporation when transporting containers on sea is not received by them. The corporation shows that the containers carrying goods for state institutions, which should originally be transported by the Ceylon Shipping Corporation, has been allocated to external transporters as the reason behind this. The chairman of the corporation says that massive loss is incurred by the government as a result of this.
Shipping Corporation
According to the current situation at the Shipping Corporation, only 3% of the government imports and exports is given to us. The rest is given to private institutions. When the Ceylon Shipping Corporation was sanctioned, the cabinet has made a decision to give all export and import of the government to the corporation. As in when an LC account is being created at the bank, the Ceylon Shipping Corporation should be mentioned as a freight carrier. The central bank has also issued a circular to all commercial banks with regard to this, and not to create an LC account if the Ceylon Shipping Corporation is not mentioned as the freight carrier. However, this has not been followed to the letter, and 97% of the transport is done by the private sector. We will act immediately to secure any amount of transport from this 97%.
Ministry of Health says that from today, passengers arriving from South Korea will be subjected to a special test at the Katnaike International Airport. Secretary to the Ministry, DMR Disanayake, says that this measure was adopted in order to prevent the MERS virus, which is spreading in South Korea, from entering the country. There is a large number of Sri Lankans who are employed in South Korea. These people travel from and to South Korea constantly. We have been informed that the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome is spreading in South Korea. Accordingly, special programs will be carried out at the Bandar Naik International Airport from today in order to prevent Sri Lankans from contracting disease and in order to prevent the spreading of the disease in Sri Lanka. Passengers arriving from South Korea are requested to subject themselves to a full medical examination by reporting to the special office of the Ministry of Health at the airport. 16 persons have been killed in South Korea after contracting MERS. According to international reports, there are 150 persons in South Korea who have been contracted with MERS. Sri Lanka Standards Institution informs all businessmen to establish the standard of their products according to the Gazette notification issued by the Consumer Affairs Authority. Director General of SLS, Lalit Seneviratne, says that the Sri Lanka Standard Institute has provided the necessary facilities for businessmen to obtain the standard certificate for their products.
According to the Gazette notification issued by the Consumer Affairs Authority, the plastic bottles used for bottled water should have the SLS certification. Meanwhile, all catering services must obtain the GMP certificate. At the same time, compiling of the ATA Prakara should also be done according to SLS standards. It is mandatory that these certificates are obtained as per the Gazette notification issued by the Consumer Affairs Authority. It is mandatory that these certificates are obtained as per the Gazette notification issued by the Consumer Affairs Authority. It would be illegal to sell products without the standard certification in the markets. However, businessmen may find it difficult to obtain standard certificates soon. Therefore, we have provided a time period during which they have to obtain their standard certificate.
With the intermittent showers experienced over the island, the dengue disease is raising its head once again. Accordingly, the Colombo Municipal Council says that a 3-day dengue prevention program will be launched in the Colombo city today. Chief Medical Officer of the Colombo Municipal Council, Dr. Ruwan Vijayamuni, stated that the program will be carried out in 8 areas which have been identified as high-risk zones. 1,328 dengue patients were recorded from the Colombo city during the first 6 months of this year.
From the city of Colombo, so far for this year we got suspected dengue cases 1,380. Out of that, about 80% are confirmed as dengue, and there were 2 deaths one in January and another one in February. So with the prevailing rainy weather in the city, we expect high number of cases or outbreak of dengue probably in July. So in order to avoid that epidemic or the outbreak, we are continuously monitoring the situation, and what we have found so far is that from areas like Colombo East and Colombo West, there are some cases have been reported, like Pamankada, Vellavasta, Kirula, Kirulapana, Narahempita, Dematagoda, then also from Grand Pass and Jinthupitiya. So those have become a little bit high-risk areas when it comes to dengue, and there are some cases have been reported from those areas. So we consider those areas as high-risk areas within the city, and today we are deploying 250 personnel from the Public Health Department, the Medical Officers of Health, Public Health Inspectors, and also personnel from the Environmental Police to go from house to house in those areas and to find out whether there are any breeding places.
Still on local news, 28 persons have been injured in an accident on the Vallivele area in Nalanda on the Kandy-Matale main road. Police said that the accident occurred when a SLTV bus plying from Dambulla to Matale had collided with a lorry transporting vegetables from Nuwara Eliya to Dambulla. 27 persons who were travelling in a bus and a worker of the lorry had sustained injuries in the accident, and they were admitted to the Matale Base Hospital for further treatment. Over 250,000 local and foreign tourists have arrived at Open Zoo in Pinnavala since it was declared open in April this year. Deputy Director of the Department of the National Zoological Gardens, Renuka Bandaranayaka, said that the ratings of the zoo so far aggregated to approximately 8 million. She added that the number of tourists arriving at the zoo is increasing day by day. There are over 40 varieties of species at the Pinnavala Zoo at present.